Thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm going to tell you something more about process mining Amsterdam. The title is Let It Grow, and I have something for you at the end. So hopefully you will let it grow as well. I'm going to tell in this half an hour, I think, something more about Amsterdam, to give you some context about the financial function in Amsterdam. And I want to tell you something more about how we introduce process mining in Amsterdam and the lessons we've learned. A little bit about myself. I have a background in finance, a background in change management, and I'm very interested, not an expert in technology. I did some educations. I work for several companies. Now I work, of course, for Amsterdam. And my hobbies, the most important maybe, are football, music, and my family. A little bit about Amsterdam. Maybe you landed here this morning or yesterday, or you landed in Eindhoven. It's also possible, of course. It has about 850 inhabitants, about 1.5 million inhabitants in the metropolitan area. We have around 180 nationalities in Amsterdam. We have a lot of trams. We have one Schiphol on a harbor, and we have Ajax. Which club you have here? Okay. Within the organization, there work about 14,000 people. It's a very heterogeneous organization. It's a quite a little country itself, Amsterdam, and we have a budget about nearly 6 billion euros. A couple of years ago, within the financial function, that's a nice detail, I think. We're the smartest city of Europe last year and this year as well. That's also nice. We do a lot of things with technology in Amsterdam. In the last 3 years, we had some trouble within the financial function in Amsterdam. We made a little film of it. Hopefully, you will take a look at it. It takes, about 2 minutes. So here it goes, hopefully.
Do you remember? The financial flag of the municipality of Amsterdam was looking pretty sorry for itself. It barely managed to get any higher than half-mast. Because the municipality of Amsterdam's financial transactions were disjointed, and that made them quite chaotic, which didn't go unnoticed by the press.
Het is echt een cultuurprobleem hier op het stadhuis. Er gaat natuurlijk een heleboel geld om hier, maar niemand voelt zich daar echt verantwoordelijk voor.
Zo kregen 86 Amsterdammers maar liefst 2 keer de PC-bijdrage op hun rekening gestort.
And the older men, they also testified to this.
En ik sta hier echt met de pest in mijn lijf dat er 2 keer gebeurd is dat wij zo'n dubbele betaling hebben gemaakt.
Bovendien ontvingen bedrijven maar liefst €514.000 te veel.
Nou, dat is natuurlijk een hele stomme fout. Iemand moet dat zien, iemand moet dat opmerken.
The upshot of all this, the organisation, the board and the council joined forces to introduce a better, more fail-proof system. And that gave One Amsterdam a solid financial foundation too. 44 administrations are united now in a single Amsterdam's financial system. The planning and control products like the financial statements and budget have been simplified, and there's greater awareness of behaviour and behaviour patterns. So there's no more need for frustration and desperation, because it's all about cooperation now, and accuracy. Amsterdam's financial system is becoming a much more streamlined process, and the press has picked up on these changes. We've entered calmer waters, but if anyone thinks it's all plain sailing from this point on, they're wrong, because there's still a long way to go. And if you listen carefully, you'll hear an old familiar song echoing through town hall's corridors. We're almost there, we're almost there, just a little way to go.
So hopefully you get a little impression of where we were, I think, 3 years ago and where we are now. And to give some more context about the council questionnaire, we had an investigation. It takes more than a year. About 14,000 of reports were investigated. A lot of people were interviewed. And the conclusions are there are lack of attention and priority of the financial function. An agreement is not always an agreement. And for example, the last one is also interesting. Pros are not properly recorded. And the council said, based on what we have examined, the committee considered that it's possible that millions of euros will be better be spent if their financial function is in order. So at that time I started. It was April 2016, about 2 years ago. And when we started, I first talked a lot of people within the financial function, outside the financial function. And the main objectives of the program are mentioned here. The main objectives were we want to create some more cohesion, transparency, of course also some control, process-based control. And I think the fourth is most important, attentional organizational change. And the motto was, together we achieve a strong financial function for Amsterdam. Wow. And it was a little bit chaotic 3 years ago. And I think this is the ambition we had, let the peace return. You saw already a little bit in the film what we achieved. We had better planning and control products. But we have also now a uniform strategy and goals for the financial function. We go from 44 to 1 financial system. This is also an important one. And again, much attention from behavior, learning and development for the people. And I think nowadays the peace returned. And now the peace is returned, it gives you also some air to pick up some new things, some new disciplines, some new technologies. And these are the technologies we will be thinking about within the financial function for now and for the next years, a couple of years. And we also focus on some, like RPA, e-invoicing, and I think most important, process mining. And I would like to tell you something more about how we introduced process mining in Amsterdam and the lessons we learned. I have 5 lessons. I think they are a little bit different from this morning, but there are also similarities in it. So, the 5 lessons is, well, these are the steps how we did it. First, create awareness, learn from it, plan, act, and act again. And after awareness, you know it, then you like it, I want it, I'm convinced, and I recommend it. Let's start. Step 1, awareness. First of all, it's fit to the context. I think you can introduce process mining in every organization, it's different. And we fit to the context. It was from the beginning, we could start with process mining, but it was too chaotic to start with it. And the peace a little bit returned, we could start with process mining, so fit to the context. And also creating the context, because process mining, for a lot of people, process mining is something new, is a new discipline. So they don't know how it works and what it can do. So you have also a little bit, because it's new, creating the context. And how we did it, it was, I think, June 2017. Sifters, they're also here, gave a presentation about process mining and disco within Amsterdam. And attendees were mainly from the financial department, but also from the lean department, just to know what is process mining. So they know it. Step 2 is learn. We are very good in Amsterdam to make plans and think about it, and to make plans again and think about it and talk about it, and then redesign the plan and talk about it again. What we did with process mining as well is we make a little plan, but we also try. We just do it. Stop talking, just do it. Where is he? There. So we started a pilot. It was a very small pilot. I think it was August or September 2017. Only 1 department were involved. Only 1 process were involved, process to pay. 4 teams who are involved in the process. From the beginning, we involve the IT people and also the people who deliver the data. So from the beginning, they know what process mining is, what they're going to do with the pilot, so they also, they can get enthusiastic about it. And we get the data easier by that. There were 5 items in the pilot. One is, look to the process. It was the intended process. I think it takes about 3-4 months to draw this with a lot of interviews and brown paper session. And it was the real process. We had about 19,000 variances in that. It's also because this is the purchase to pay process, it's the financial process. Like I said, we started at the 1st of January 2017 to go to one system, to one financial system. So it was a little bit chaotic at the beginning. We look at the happy flow. The invoice is approved by only one user. Second and third approval by the same employee. And invoices is more about process improvement. Invoices were rejected. So a very small pilot. We looked at 5 items just to create some more, to learn about it. The group who from the process, purchase to pay, and to get more attention. What can it do for us with our own data? So they like it a little bit. Step 3 is to make a plan. Of course, we had a little plan for ourselves, how we can introduce process mining in Amsterdam. But it was a step, well, there was I think a group of 20 people were quite enthusiastic about it. Well, it was time to make a plan. And to create a vision with goals and also focus. And I think most of you will recognize these objectives with process mining. We will use it to mainly what we communicate is to improve your process, get insight in your process, or to control your process better. And these are more details about the objectives. But it helps us also to communicate to others within the organization why we started with process mining. And we still have a focus on the financial department, because also other directors heard from process mining and want to start. But we first would like to make it a success in the financial function. So, they want it. Step 4 is ACT. And ACT is also a very important step. We create ownership, create a leading coalition, and support. And create ownership is one of the main, I think, most important things we create. It was the director of the financial department. She wants to be owner of the discipline process mining within the organization, but especially within the financial department. The coalitions, there were people involved, and they also get times. Yet Bernd is over there. She's very good. She works in Amsterdam, and she was totally focused on process mining, how to create it to get it a step further in Amsterdam. And we also create a lot of support. It's only for the employees, from the team leaders, as well from the managers and the directors. And what we did, we deepened the pilot. So we asked the director of finance to instruct to deepen the pilot. We had training sessions within the people within the process of purchase to pay, but also a training session within audit, internal audit, external audit, and auditors who are involved within the first line, like how we call it within the organization. We did some interactive sessions with other departments of our organization, like e-invoicing, internal audit, like I mentioned already, but also subsidies. I don't know. I think it's grant. I didn't find the translation of it. And internal and external services. Just to act. And here I have some items about the deepening the pilot. We have about 264 invoices we received. It's about 300 invoices last year, but these one are the ones that are paid. And beside the 5 items I already mentioned, we did an update of the data, and we look at it again, if it improves in the last months. And besides that, we also look to the e-invoicing, to the e-invoice. For example, analyze invoices with and without an auto match. And we also find new things to analyze. Because when we looked at the data, we found out that a lot of invoices, we should maybe already know, but a lot of invoices are very small. And it costs more to make a purchase invoice, of course, instead of paying it directly. So, I think what can we do with it? We did some analysis by supplier. This is an example of a supplier we get 400 invoices of, and 126 already removed before we start with it. We analyzed the deleted invoices and the changes within the process as more internally. For example, it takes 4.7 days before an invoice is removed, which should be removed. So it takes 5 days before the supplier knows that the invoices was not well. And we use it now to get in touch with our employees in the internal process, but also we will use it to talk with our suppliers. Nowadays we talk with suppliers to compare the administration. This will also be a very good tool to discuss how we can improve together. The last one is more on audit. Like I said, we had a training session with internal, external audit, and also with some auditors from the organization within the first line process. And in 2018 we will start at least 1 or 2 processes. We always actually started already at purchase to pay to start continuous monitoring. And from this September they will start 3 audits. Besides the normal audit method, they will they will also use process mining as a tool. Not only process mining, but well, just to get more experience with it. Well, some nice conclusions. I think if you look to the total of 2017 and the last 2 months, it's not only because of the process mining, of course, but mainly about the process. The lead times has decreased by 8 days. The removed invoice reduced by more than 30%. The changes in the invoice are reduced by more than 15%, and the number of invoices approved by 1 person, small control item, is reduced by more than 90%. So there are some results. Then I like to finish. Hartstikke idee. Step 5, act again. Now we know I already said the step, just create awareness by having a presentation. Then learn something about very small pilots with only 5 items. Then making a plan and make someone ownership of it. Well, the director of finance in Amsterdam. Act, well, deepen the pilot and create more awareness also with the other departments within the organization. And now it's time to act again. We create within the finance department a team of 3 people, the more data analysts. They will also use process mining to mainly improving the processes. Like I said, the audits, we will do 3 audits by using process mining in the next half a year. We have a lot of interest from grants. We already started a pilot within another department, as well from internal services. Internal services decided last week that besides RPA and apps, process mining were one of the 3 techniques they will further investigate to use within the organization for in 2018 and 2019. So we're just at the beginning, I think. And there's another pilot. Because of the time, I will drop that. But highly recommended. That's it. No, I already said I have a background in finance and in change management, and I think besides the lessons I've already given, people are it's just the people who's doing it. And I would like to give you something more details about how we work with the people. And it's provide the right instrument, but the people that create it. So process mining as well as a discipline is not only a tool. It's a combination of having the process, the instruments, and the people who's doing it, and also believing in it. And like I already said, have ownership, leadership, a leading coalition, etc. And what also is important is knowing yourself and the other. And 3 items I will show you. First of all, it's nice to know yourself. It's not a colleague of us, and how other people see you. It's very important with the collaboration. And process mining helps us to reduce emotional components. Second one is what we use is also from change management, systematic change. We give more insight in circular patterns we have. I will show you one. It's the more we focus on their own results in the short term, quick wins, the less we learn from each other and help from each other. Maybe you recognize you are very busy and you focus on your own results of your own team. Well, if you focus on your own team, well, it's okay, but the less we learn from others. Another one is the more we focus on our own process, the less we work together and to get a real result for one Amsterdam. So focus on your own process, focus on quick wins, leads to less learning and working together. And these patterns we also use by discussing with teams. And process mining helps us to learn from each other. And this is another one. Now, the more pressure we feel to perform, the more of the lesion of the day is the most important and not structural improvements. It's mainly about how much pressure you have on the process, the less the results will be. And also the second one, the more pressure we put on others and point to others when things go wrong, the less we achieve results together for one Amsterdam. And again here, process mining helps us. For example, how is the process at real? What are the real facts? And it helps us to get in conversation with it and to start a new collaboration. And we get inspired by others. Maybe some of you will notice this film. It takes again 2 minutes. After this, I do a wrap up, and so hopefully you have 10 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Sorry.
Our next contestant. Our next contestant hails from Columbus, Georgia. Let's hear it for Dee Westry. Come on out, Dee.
All right.
All right, so what is your talent? What will you be performing today?
I'm a speed painter, and I'm going to do a painting in a minute and a half or less.
Okay. All right, here we go. Let's hear it for Dee Westry.
Yeah. It's almost the same as process mining. If you look at it, wow. So I get inspired with others, and you can do more than you think, I think. A little wrap up. Introduce a process mining. We did it in 5 steps already mentioned. To awareness, so they know it. To learn about a little bit. We're doing a pilot, so they like it. To make a plan. So they think, well, if you're going to do this, I want it. To act by deepening the pilot. So I'm convinced. And to act again. And a lot of people now within Amsterdam, I think about 100 people knows now in Amsterdam what process mining is, who all recommended it to start with it. The lessons fit to the context and create it as well, because it's something new. You also have to create something. Think and try. So not only make plans and think about it, but also start up, do something, create a vision, set goals and focus. Create ownership, leading coalition and support is lesson 4. And 5 is the balance between pros, instruments and people. And the last one is hold on and do what works. So maybe, I don't know. Is there something who wants to dance with me? Yeah. So let's connect, hopefully. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Wim. I'll again start off with the first question. Please raise your hand if you have questions. We have 10 minutes for questions. So I really liked your whole story, and also at the very end when you were focusing on the people, right? And the way of working together. And one thing you mentioned is like if everyone only focuses on the short-term kind of low-hanging fruits, on their own responsibilities, that one thing that is often left out is that people learn from each other and connect between each other. So I was curious maybe to hear a little bit more about how you feel process mining can help making this connection. So is it easier to share experiences with process mining compared to without process mining? How do you feel, does it help in that aspect?
No, I think it helps to look at the total chain, at least within your own organization. So what we did, we had, for example, purchase to pay, 4 teams in it, and the teams didn't talk with each other. So it helps us if you have a tool and you have to, you bring them together to have, they will talk about the process, not only your own process, but about the total process. And while you're talking, it also helps to learn something, because I didn't saw you before today, but I think, well, you're quite nice. If you see each other and you're around the table, it gives it's another impression if you only see something on the mail asking you to something that you think, well, who's that person that asking that from me? Yeah. This also helps to come together, talk about it, but you also evolve it. And,
Okay, great, thanks. Okay. Who has a question for Wim? We will get the microphone to you.
All right.
There's a question. Will has a question in the front, please. Let's wait for them.
So thanks for, I think, a very nice talk and a very complete story, because you also started with the problems that were there at the beginning. During your talk, I had the feeling that the focus was very much on, let's say, efficiency improvements. Not so much compliance issues, but if I looked at the items that you meant in the beginning, showed that there were, let's say, serious compliance and auditing issues. Did the auditors also learn something from this exercise?
You should ask them, of course. What they've learned. Now, I think what they've learned, we bring the internal and external audit together, for example. And they, by bringing them together, 2 days, they find out that they do the same audits, but from a different objective. They said, well, in 2 weeks I will go to Department A, and then I will go to Department B. And the other said, well, I've been just to Department B on the same topic, and I will go to A next year. So they learn that they do quite the same thing. And what they also learned, I think, like I said, they want to do 3 audits, but they want to do it together as well with the financial department as well, so they can learn from it. Another example, the last one, I think the external audit, Siftis, our partner, did also something for the year-end closing. Instead of doing 5, how do you call steekproef?
Yeah,
samples, they use process mining. And normally it takes about 6 weeks a sample. Now they're ready within half a day. And then just look to the invoices that should be really looked at. And that takes, of course, a little bit longer. But so they get a little bit experiences. They get around the table and talk with each other. And they find out they have more in common than they think before. and maybe, well, they can use it in the future as well.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Wim?
And if I can, I have a question for you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, maybe.
I will not throw it.
Thanks a lot. You said you want to do monitoring. Could you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, how we start now with monitoring, we refresh the data from until the 13th of June. So it will be in 2 weeks. We look again to the data of the purchase to pay and to the service desk. It was another pilot we did to see if the process is improved. And where we're also looking at is to connect it with our management information, our databases. So maybe it's possible, and it's not, I think, in the next year, or not this year, but next year, to get a connection also with the data. So we don't have to ask the data, but it will be refreshed themselves, so we can use it more from monitoring as well. But now we use it each quarter. We refresh the data. We did it before the summer 2017. We did it after the summer. We did it in December. We did it in March, and we will do it now in July. Now, to learn from it as well. I have a question for you then.
Okay.
Oh, is this one? Oh. Yeah, is it not?
Thank you. I see you have a lean department. How are they involved into your process mining project?
Well, they're mainly involved at the beginning. And they are less involved now, but they should be involved more. So I think it's quite a political answer, but yeah, that's it. Okay, can I ask you a question then? In the symbols you saw some a man who's growing to making a sunflower. And I bring you all a sunflower for you. And I would like to ask you, it's very nice, from 16 countries there are people together here, to plant this one. And if it's come up, please make a picture and show it to Anna or show it to, I already called Jet, and let us know when it grows. And it's not only in Amsterdam, it's important to let it grow worldwide. So please, if you go to the coffee, take one. And please let us know when it grows. Thank you.